Okay, Russ, all we've done is we've gotten to the point of approving minutes, and David is sitting in for Deb, who's not here. Are you okay? Do you have any concerns or questions about
I'm okay.
last month's? Okay, so on the vote to approve the minutes, we have all ayes, I believe, correct, Russ?
Aye.
Except for David, who abstains. So, public comments, any public comments? Okay. Co-chairs report. Shall I go first?
Yeah.
And I'm doing the
You're doing
saver thing. Okay, 2 weeks ago on Monday, Martha Hanson and I remotely attended a joint presentation by the State Historic Preservation Office and Preservation Connecticut, which went over the basics of HDC governance, responsibilities, and authority. And some of the points made will come up later in this meeting. I did want to highlight one thing, which was the importance repeatedly emphasized of making sure we have clear guidelines for purposes of transparency and helping us to assure like treatment of like cases. So I think we are on the right track with our efforts on signs, and just need to keep plugging ahead. In some towns, these come in the form of detailed ordinances. In other towns, there are formal regulations. This is more common that are authorized by the ordinances, and elsewhere the function so-called design review guidelines, which you're either in a handbook or a separate publication. So I think that's the product that we're dealing with. Martha, do you want to, just while we're on the topic, do you have any comments about that meeting?
I thought it was very informative, and it looks like we're doing the right things.
Yeah.
That was my main impression, was that we standing with what was.
The PowerPoint from that was one of the attachments that Martha circulated, and especially for those who are relatively new, it's a useful primer, I think.
Did you say that other towns have actually adopted ordinances that?
They don't go into great detail. We have a town ordinance advising the HDC, but just for example, one of the reference to an ordinance was that we've had a question sometimes about, well, just what is a public way? We have jurisdiction over structures and buildings that are visible from a public way.
Right.
And the town of Quinnipiac provided, I believe, in its ordinance that the Quinnipiac River is a public way.
Yeah.
So is the Lieutenant River a public way?
I guess my question was, are the guidelines
Actually in the
codified
ordinance?
or?
Not, typically not, but
Okay.
some aspect of detailed aspect of the commission's authority that goes beyond what's in the state statute may be specified. Public way being an example. But then a few towns have formal regulations. We are not mandated by statute to adopt regulations. Other towns, this is our boat, have design review guidelines.
Okay.
So that's all I had.
Okay, I was just going to briefly report on the response that we've had. I don't know if you've read them from Amtrak and from the FRA response to our queries last January. And we followed up and received 2 responses, one a lengthy one from Amtrak and the one that we've just received from the FRA. basically trying to outline the process. It does sound as if this current process, the capacity planning study, is going to be handled a little bit differently than the process, the tier one process that they went through 6 years ago. And this seems to be occurring outside of the NEPA process, the National Environmental Protection Act. The last one functioned within those guidelines. They, in both these letters, are telling us that they're working ahead of that, and this is just a study. So there are some differences, and but we were very pleased to receive the response and assured that we are on their list of stakeholders. And we plan to, I think, post these on our website.
We already have posted the letter we sent. This part, just to clarify, does not relate to the bridge. The town wrote separately about the bridge, but
Right.
basically that project had been approved years and years ago. Our concern is with a possible revival of a railway bypass that really 8 years ago was being considered to cut through the historic district and Old Lawn. So that was one possible route. And there's a lot of equivocation. They haven't done the study yet. They won't say it's off the table.
Right.
But it bears watching.
Well, given that they're rebuilding the present bridge south of its location, and the proposal was to build a different bridge, well, a bridge from Saybrook adjacent to 95. Do you think they would put a second railroad bridge across the river?
No.
Right.
But it's, you could connect. I don't know exactly where the proposed new bridge will go. I had thought it was right near
It's
the,
just slightly south, right?
Pardon?
It's just slightly south, is it?
Just slightly south.
Yeah.
Slightly south.
so it could connect to the same
Line.
tracks, the same line. Anyway.
So
Great.
perhaps we'll invite somebody in to have a discussion about this in July.
Oh, yeah, the timetable, they say, is they expect to get started late spring, which could be any time now, or early summer, and they expect the process to take 18 to 24 months. They promise plenty of advertisement about opportunities for public comments.
Have we decided we're going to post these replies on the website?
I think we should.
Yeah.
And it's an
Yeah.
issue that a lot of people are
I think
Or-
so too.
following. It's very useful information. So, Martha, if you could add that to your list for Katie's Wednesday tasks. Thank you. Secretary's report,
When would she be, when do you think that would be up?
Wednesday, she works.
Wednesday, we usually do that on Wednesday.
Okay.
So,
Secretary's report.
so different projects on 10 properties. 2 of them are on the agenda today. We have the Ferry Road Sidewalk project, which I think, has it started?
Yes.
It has started.
Well, I mean, the
Supposed to-
trucks are all there and they're getting ready. Yeah.
Good, yeah.
I don't think they've started digging up sidewalk yet. Have you?
I think
Sort of,
my mother, who owns the house on Ferry Road, just got a letter that said it should be done by the end of July. I haven't seen any. It's gonna start.
oh, these tree, I assumed it was part of that.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
maybe
But digging up the sidewalk
not yet.
is about to start. I
So
can't give.
1 week delay from the original time.
The meeting next week, maybe.
next week, I think.
Yeah, they were supposed to start in May, towards the end of May, and it kept pushing it. Because what I heard was that it was supposed to be finished before the White Elephant sale. So I don't know if that will happen, but
I don't think so.
it will.
Chaos if it's not.
Well, it is on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
So we have 38 Lime Street, the renovations are continuing. 49 Lime Street, the center school front door and Bluestone walkway, that has not been started yet. That has kind of a long time frame from what they told us. So I don't know if they will start this summer possibly, or if they'll wait. And then the new exterior doors on the town hall, they're still working on that. Some of them have been replaced and some are still waiting. 55 Lime Street, the Old Lyme Historical Society, front porch renovation. We're still working on that. It's not quite finished. 57 Lime Street, the Old Lyme Children's Learning Center, they're still renovating the building, and they are also on the agenda for a new sign today. The Lyme Academy of Fine Arts. Their new signs were installed but are protruding over the sidewalk. They're waiting on an electrician to help rewire those before they can be moved.
Deanie has a brief update.
I had a very brief update that was then updated by by our representatives from the Lyme Academy. So maybe, do you want to speak to that right now?
Sure, yeah, we tried to move it last week, but most, there is a 3 foot by 6.5 foot cylindrical base underground for that, so that will not be moving. So we are coming up with alternatives to.
And then they're also on the agenda for new doors. 7 Lime Street, garden shed, they have not put that up yet, but they're also on the agenda today to talk about solar panels on the big barn. And then 100 Lime Street, Roger Tory Peterson Estuary Center, the caretaker's cottage renovations are continuing. And so are the storyboards. As far as web page updates go, we put up a lot last week, and we will put up more this coming week. And then there's no update on the platform.
And also the 96 Lime Street's on the agenda, museum for the sign.
Yes,
And
yeah, they are, yeah.
and then one other question, you had sent a note to Deanie and me about the possibility of carrying over a part of the budget. And I recall that we need to let them know by fairly early in July.
July
So
10th.
we can discuss this next meeting, but can you briefly
Right.
remind us what this is about?
So if we have money in our budget that we haven't used, for instance, legal expenses, we have a $500 line item for legal expenses. We have not used that, so we might want to carry that over.
Mhm.
Because whatever we do, whenever we consult a lawyer, it's always more than $500.
Right.
That line item is really just a placeholder. So
Yeah,
since it's
well-
already approved, I think we should.
I think
just-
that's great, and I can think of a few questions we might want to consider next fiscal year, but
Mhm.
what we've had to do in the past, if we've needed a opinion of council, is go back to the Board of Finance for a supplemental approval, because, yeah, you don't get anything done for $500.
Right, right. The other thing that is usually used for is an ongoing project that hasn't been finished. We don't have any of those. But if we want to reprint the handbook, we might think about putting that in next time we do a budget.
Okay. And the budget process, I mean, we have to, what's the time frame for that?
We need to let them know before Christmas.
Okay.
What our budget is. It's usually end of November, beginning of December. That they want our.
I just have two more additions. One, the storyboards have been installed. I don't think the books have been placed in them, but as you drive by, if you look, you can see the storyboards themselves have been placed at Roger Tory. And also numerous people have pointed out that the ice cream shop is back on the market.
One other thing, I don't know if you've mentioned it or not, but I've been watching the fence removal at 6 Lime Street. And since it's a structure, it should probably be, they should have requested permission or come in to see us about that, but I don't know if you've had any communication with them.
I think-
Maybe that's
I
not
think
necessary.
Martha-
Yeah.
We have, Martha has written.
Yes, it's intended, it was originally intended to be a like for like replacement. They were really just going to straighten it up and repaint it. And then, the carpenter discovered that there was a lot of rot. And so they're still trying to decide what to do. And they will come before us.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Martha. And Children's Learning Center is next. Do we have a chair? You can, maybe easiest to pull up a chair or sit
Here.
here.
There used to be a chair here.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Hello.
We're just looking to, basically just update the sign. This is the original sign that has been taken down. That's no longer our logo. And we're actually no longer NIAC accredited due to COVID. And these aren't our accurate hours. So the new proposed sign is not replacing, but just updating, taking the bottom parts that were hanging off and update it with our new logo. Clean it up a little bit. It's got need some power washing and paint touch-ups.
Are you thinking of still having, once the hours are
No.
changed?
No.
So this will be without the bottom.
Correct. Yeah. As things change, we don't want to keep changing. So we'd rather just go with something that can stand.
And I think the main reason to have you come in, this should take not long, I think, but is just because of the change in design.
Correct, yeah, yeah.
More than anything else. So,
Yeah, when I had spoken to Martha, it doesn't, it'll be the exact same sign, just that upper portion those tiles be taken down and replaced with.
Yeah.
A new.
I move that we accept the proposed PILFA for the new sign as presented without the drop downs and with the altered design.
I'll second.
second by David, motion by Carolyn. Any discussion? I would just comment, just say thank you for coming in. It's relatively trivial, but we have to do this. Sometimes we're faced with designs that are radically different and so.
Yep.
I appreciate it. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
That was
Oh.
an approval, I'm sure.
Was that an approval, Russ, or an opposition?
Yeah, that was an aye approval.
Okay,
Aye.
Yeah,
and none abstaining,
thank you.
none abstaining. So great, thank you.
Thank you very
How's the work going?
It's going great, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks
What's your time,
much better than what was there.
what's your timetable?
We're a little bit behind because we gotta put some gutters, roofs getting worked on.
Construction work and you're behind?
I know. We were hoping for the end of July, but I think it'll be pushed.
Okay,
So maybe September.
But you'll be ready to reopen, right?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, we
That's
have
great.
a list and people are chomping at the bit, so hopefully we keep things going.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Congratulations.
Thank you, yeah.
yeah, thank you so much.
And Art?
My-
We'll put them on the sides, we can sit here. For those who haven't met me, I'm Wendy Berry. I'm the managing director at Lime Academy. I've been there for just about a year now. This is Dave Dombrowski. He is new with us, about a month into the job. He is our new facilities and security manager,
Okay,
which we're excited to have. So we have a few updates just to kind of let you know what's in our pipeline, but then talk about the two things. So the sign, as you know, we're working on getting that sign off the sidewalk. Bigger project than we expected.
right.
And we're doing our best to get it done. The doors were part of a large security project that we did that we got. This has been, when I came on board, that project had already been awarded from the state, from the Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. And so I was in the process of, finishing up the implementation, was delayed. So it replaced 4 doors, which were residential style, with commercial style, and then crash bars to make them handicap accessible, fire safety. And then we added 2 bollards at the main entrances to have an access code only. So our campus is officially locked down to the public at this point. I know it's been open property for about 48 years in terms of people just coming in, but for safety and security purposes, it is now officially locked and key code access only. There's an intercom too. So we went and got a building permit, did everything we thought we were supposed to be doing, did not have so went through that project without having any certificate of appropriateness. So I've come to ask for forgiveness rather than permission because the doors are in. And then we are just replacing 1 door in the next few months, which we will put in an application for.
Where's the one, where's the new door?
So the one that we've done, the
No,
ones.
the one you say you're going
I
to
thought
do.
you said there were 4 altogether.
So there were 4, so this is where you could help clarify what we have to submit the it's the ones that are within the sight line from the street. So I don't know if you need just the one that's in the sight line or the 4 3 of which you can't see, I don't think.
Just the ones, if anything is visible from the street, but that's what we need. So
Okay.
the others are behind the building, is that?
One that was on the rear of the building and the 2 are on the interior, so you can't see those either. The other one that we are replacing will be just like that one, and that is to the right. So I believe that is visible to the street. So we'll submit one for that. That's just been,
Okay.
in the process. Not
On this same building?
Yes, all the way to the right-hand side of it, there's the old doors to the sculpture area. It won't have a bollard and security access. It'll just be officially be able to be locked and replaced.
Okay, and the COFA form, do you have a copy of that?
Yeah,
So Dave, do you have questions? I know we were trying to talk about make sure we filled it out correctly. This is
Yeah.
our first.
no, I think so. I mean, a lot was actually answered. I did attach, when it has detailed description of project, I just said, see attached town of Old Line building permit, because it's a really nice detailed description, and it also shows the permit, so probably best to give you that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Just give us a minute to
Yeah,
absorb this.
we also did have final inspection come through about a week and a half ago, roughly. So it's been closed as far as inspected and everything as well, so at least.
Now, does this describe somewhere the materials of the door and the material?
I don't believe
think
it
it
does,
does.
yeah, no.
You could add it right
I
here.
can provide.
Yeah, we can,
You could add it just so for our
And-
records.
And, and for the bollard, description of the dimensions of that.
Okay.
We have a a record keeping function as well as an approval function. So
Sure.
it would be helpful to have that. I don't know if you can add that now or if you could.
I actually have it.
we
We
can-
can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And apologies that we, when I, like I said, when we went to town hall, when I went to get, I don't know. So is the normal process that somebody would have let us know that it
Yes.
required? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
We have in the past had to remind, there was another situation where we had to remind the building folks that, yes.
Okay.
Remind folks to come to us first, but that is the standard process. It's, you don't get any extra credit for coming in late. We had years ago, one very unfortunate situation where the commission did not, this was before my time, did not approve a project that the owners had thought they could just go ahead and do, and they ended up having to completely redo it, but anyway.
Thank
we
you for being here now.
understand. Yes, thanks for being here.
And now that we know, we've got the guidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the statute defines, authority over exterior
Right.
of buildings and parts of buildings and other structures, which
Mhm.
include signs and fences and driveways and
Mhm.
stuff that's
Mhm.
attached to the ground,
Mhm.
so we appreciate it.
And
Any,
You have the application, I think if you
here,
Would you like the motion?
complete it now, or
Yeah, we can sit over there and just complete it real quick. with the
yeah, we have
information.
those
Mhm.
additions.
I don't need to see it. Willing to grant forgiveness.
so,
And make a motion?
sure,
I move that we accept the proposed changes to the door and the doors and the bollard with additional description of materials and dimensions as requested.
I'll second.
a motion by Carolyn and David. The seconds, any discussion? This is a public hearing, so I should say, anybody in the audience have any comments? Okay, hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Heard 5 ayes, so none opposed, none abstaining. We're in good shape. Please,
Right now.
fill out the
Just grab the
details
rest of it.
and
A question
send
that
that in.
for future, we are getting ready to tackle quite a bit of deferred maintenance that has taken place over the years. So I know we're planning on doing the roof of the Still House finally, which is in, as you know, horrible condition. So happy to have that slated for the fall. How far in advance do you all need? Right now, we're just in the process of where we said, yes, we're going to do it. We'll get us on the schedule, but how far in advance would you need it?
Well, we need a C of A application, what would you say, a week before a meeting?
A week, too, yeah.
Ideally 2, just in case there are any questions, and then back and amend it if necessary. We meet in July, we do not meet in August.
Okay.
So it would be either something to get in by, let's say in 2 weeks,
Mhm.
or something to get in by the middle of August.
It has to be posted. It's a legal notice, so it has to be posted by law. That's why we need it in advance of our meeting.
And by us giving it to you, you posted that. so-
We
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, great, okay,
Yeah.
great. So we'll do that probably then for the July meeting to
Mhm.
make sure that you have that, knowing that we don't know when the fall slot will be, when they'll be able to get us on.
July or September, depending.
And
on
we
your
also
schedule.
need time, this one was, it says on the certificate of appropriateness form, we need a list of adjoining property owners because they get, as a matter of courtesy notices, it's not, my understanding, not required that we send that, given the
Mhm.
legal posting, but we like to do that because not everybody sits and reads the fine print of the New London Day.
Given that our other set of doors will be installed in July as planned, we could just sit over in the corner right now and give you the exact same doors for a different door, get that in today? Or no, you'd have to have,
Sure, we could
I
approve it
mean-
in July.
We
We can't approve it today because it has to be,
okay, got it.
But
Okay.
we would like to have
Sure.
the detailed
Mhm.
information, some of which appeared on the building inspector's form. So if they haven't approved that yet, the
Right.
C of A should include the full set of information about dimensions and material and
Yep.
all of that. So there's, you can email it in or drop it off.
Okay.
Are the front steps on your to-do list?
Yes, so the whole, I think hopefully over the course of the next few years, the entire envelope of the Sill House is going to be renovated, and, funding available, but yes, it needs new front steps, back steps, handicap accessibility, new out, it's the whole envelope. Because the roof is the most important.
I mean, one thing to bear in mind, we have what we call like for like approval, but that requires that the project be a repair that ends up with really exactly the same stuff. So if you were redoing the roof, but it's, the same
Right.
shingles, the same materials, then there's no requirement for a formal public hearing. I mean, and that's true of any portion of your planned renovation.
and since the Sill House is obviously a very important historic structure to the historic district, it would be great if you could come in, informally without necessarily having an application, but just to talk about what you're thinking and, we could sort of talk about
Yeah,
it.
that's for.
That would be very, very interesting, project.
For any major project that's an option for you, but encouraged, because if there are questions, we can spot them ahead of time and not be dealing with them at the final approval stage.
We're coming up on our 50th anniversary in 2026, so I think we have a lot of ideas of things we can do to celebrate that, including making sure the Sill House is a shining gem of ours.
That's right. It's a shining gem for the town.
Right,
So
exactly, yeah. Okay, great. So I'll hand this right back
Thank you.
into you, and then we'll see you again in July.
Right.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
And museum. Wow, double barreled.
Here. Make a habit out of it.
There's no criteria.
So the C of A is for approval of a redesigned sign, main sign, and if you have a couple extra, we'll pass them around. These were, I think, circulated by email in case. And also approval, which we omitted. I don't think we have, am I correct, for side banners that change. We have for other properties such as the Audubon Society, Roger Tory Peterson, and
The college.
the Academy of Fine Arts approved signs, so long as they're the same dimension, but if they're reflecting a changing storyboard for the storyboards for the Roger Tory Peterson, or if they're reflecting changing exhibitions, we need to have a record of that. So, am I correct? Those are the two proposals du jour.
That's right. But so should we submit a separate Oh, great. Yeah, so, and do we need to, every time we have a new exhibition?
No.
No.
That's the
Okay,
purpose of getting
Gotcha.
approval in advance for that type of change of sign.
Okay.
Discussion. This is, in case you're not aware, part of the museum's rebranding process, the change in the main sign. And this is the symbol or design, I'm correct, that will be posted also on the website and other museum communications.
That's correct.
And we accept the proposal as written for the replacement of the main sign and the side banner, which will change 3 to 4 times a year.
Second that.
And just under, so moved by Carolyn, seconded by Deanie. And I just had one question. You said in the application that the material is the same as
They don't know if they have that kind of material anymore, so I did bring the material. It's, the whole sign is the same, just that will be replacing the two-sided.
this is actually a different, technically different type of
I
material.
can't tell what's exactly there. Nobody came out to see it, but this is what is standard process now for
Sort of
those.
similar.
Oh, yeah, definitely same, it's 1/8 of an inch.
What's it called? Aluma?
Alu panel, ALUI panel,
Assume it's made of aluminum.
I assume,
Does
with
the,
a composite inside.
does the text get painted on that, or is it a,
I believe it's a cover.
so it's
that goes
a
like
film that goes over it?
So it'll be the same yellow and then our, it's like a deep purpley gray, logo. I think I put the PMS color in.
And does the C of A refer to that same name? Did you remember if you put that in? Do we have that
Same name of,
Same name.
That's,
of the material?
yes.
oh, yes, okay.
You just say the material is 1/8 of an inch. Oh, alu panel. Okay, I see. Okay. Great. Any further discussion? Anyone? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Abstentions? None. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was straightforward.
Just want to help us hang it.
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, let me say, but you're tall. I could say, but you're taller, but I'll mess it up because I'm so unmechanical, you wouldn't believe it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Need to see you.
Okay, great.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the next item is a discussion of solar panels, Teresa and Todd.
Just want to say your flowers look beautiful.
Absolutely.
Garden looks
And
really,
you're
really
putting me
nice.
to shame. I still have bags of mulch to spread
I
around.
love the yellow iris.
Thank you.
They all just moved at once, didn't
Just
they?
moving. Just want to say very nice.
Coming together, it's coming together.
So I guess to start, I have some questions. What is the feeling of solar in the use of solar panels in the historic district? Is there any precedence? Because I'm not aware of any. In kind of a general feeling guidelines that we might want to know about.
Well, let me start with the statute and then Russ may have a few words. He did install a solar panel on his shed, but I think it was technically out of the historic district.
It's
300 feet.
But 300 feet back. But so, you do have to have a C of A, but the statute is written with respect to solar energy systems in a way that encourages their use. So the statute says no application for solar panels shall be denied unless the commission finds that the feature cannot be installed without substantially impairing the historic character and appearance
Okay.
of the district. I mean, I'm glad you came in because there are some suggestions, if you will, from Preservation Connecticut and the State Historic Preservation Office about the types of panels that are preferred. Thank you.
There are some panels that were approved several years ago on the former church,
Oh,
right
Okay.
down here.
Yeah.
okay.
And they are on the south side of the pitched roof.
Okay.
And so in terms of a precedent, you could look at. I will say, because they're neighbors, that they have had to cut down some trees. It's just a matter of interest.
Yeah.
Because they weren't functioning as they were once the
Trees fell
got
down.
high. So, something to consider.
So I guess this is probably just a far fetch, but if we were to do like a freestanding pedestal mount in the field to the right side of the house, I take it that would impair the historic district, but
To be behind the daffodil, in front of them, behind daffodils in front of the blackberry.
and I'm just throwing this out there for now.
It's
Across from the.
It's right, you know where Parsons Farm Lane is?
it's right next to
Julie's house.
2 doors down
Right next
to,
to-
yeah, right next to Julie's house.
That the
Basically
audience-
across the street from us, just to the north of the 95.
Those are facing directly south.
You know, the field,
I think.
south to the right of the house, where all the daffodils
The
are,
daffodil field.
Yeah. in the back of, towards wood line, because it's got perfect exposure to the south and to the west.
So the blackberry there.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
near the
In
blackberry.
between the daffodils and the
Coming
blackberries.
in Parsons Farm.
It would be not as far back as the driveway coming off of Parsons Farm. It would be kind of where the blackberries are, there. And so I'm just putting this out there.
This is pretty stunning.
Yeah, it's kind of,
I mean,
And it's a tracker. What it does is in the morning, it's facing south. And in the afternoon, it follows the sun to the west. And as the seasons change, the angle changes. And then when you get a high wind, it automatically lowers down as a tabletop. So the wind can come through and not become a sail.
Todd, what would some other options be that would be less obtrusive?
The other one is a roof mount, and that's really what I'm prepared for. But I wanted to just, several people have suggested we do something like that, but don't know if I'm for it at all.
four copies, well, 3 copies. and
Okay,
the original.
so again, this is just preliminary. This is a picture. I only brought 3 sets.
Yeah, I'll just leave
It's
it.
okay, you can share.
There. Okay,
This is a picture of the house from Lime Street, with the garage behind the house and the barn, behind that.
and so just keep in mind that we're gonna be focusing on the back side of the barn.
Backside of the barn, yeah.
Yes.
Not visible from the street.
Well, it's visible from
Parsons Farm.
Maybe.
maybe.
Yeah.
Barely.
This is the barn, from looking from
Parsons.
the south, looking from Parsons
Yeah.
up the driveway. And then going to the next slide, this is a view looking from the southeast.
Yeah.
From the brook.
Yes.
Okay, and the panels would be on the roof, on the steep section, and also on the shed roof, under it.
And it's noteworthy that they'll be set in.
They'll be set back from the edge of the roof, so they do stand up about 5 inches, but with that setback, you will not see them from the south side
Right.
or the north side, or you won't see them from the west side. They'll only be visible from the east, probably northeast to southeast.
Right.
And what's the next slide?
That's the last slide, the rest of, oh, the important thing here, let's see. This is out of order. But here's the other thing we have to take into consideration is we would be changing the electrical service box here. And it would look, okay, this is my little Photoshop thing. The red box is basically taking this system and putting it where the, right? So that's gonna be the difference between what it currently looks like here
Uh-huh.
And
and
it
what
will-
it will look
Which
like.
side of the house is that?
That's on the
That's on the
south side.
driveway side, south side. So you will see that.
We
That you
have
will
to do
see.
it there because that's the electrical connection to the grid.
Right.
And so we have to.
But that doesn't, let's look too much larger and presumably that could be screened with the.
We could put
potentially planting.
We were probably doing
evergreen,
some
we could put some
vegetation.
evergreens there
Yeah.
too, and which would be nice.
Vegetation screen.
Lattice, yeah.
I got two questions.
Mhm.
One, how much wattage do you
What-
generate for each?
Kilowatt hours is what I have, 14,400 kilowatt.
The roof system, I don't know about.
I don't know what the other one is.
What are the relative, or what are the costs?
What are the what?
The costs, I asked that.
What is the cost?
Of each
Well,
one.
Well, that one there is about $70,000, the freestanding pedestal. The roof mounted one, I don't have yet. The person that came to us was, one of these people that wants to do it at zero cost. And you pay monthly, which I'm not really interested in, but before I go out and do a lot of quoting, I wanted to see if it was even feasible. Because I don't want to spend any more time on it.
What's this image?
That's a image of the garage. It's showing just a block diagram of it.
It's,
Structures.
Yes.
just out of curiosity, it's impossible to get completely off the grid. You can't just.
Right.
Go out and do it.
Well, it's not, we're not going off. The way we were told, based on our electrical usage, we needed 14,400 kilowatt hours.
Per year.
14.4 per year.
So it evens out
And
through.
we do have electric cars and, we have 2, plug-in hybrids. So that our usage went up when we considered that as well. We don't have a full electric car, but it has increased our electric bill we plug them in when we go to the barn. What am I missing?
We just kind of want your all's feedback on, because like we said, we didn't know if there was any solar panels in the historic district or not. Now we do know there's
Yeah,
one.
and I think, again, the statute contemplates them. Let me throw out some factors to consider.
Okay,
A concern is that they be minimally visible. The fact that this is on the rear of a barn sort of fits with that, but
It's 275 feet back.
right, but one goal also is that they not, project beyond
Yeah.
the roof ridge,
they're like this tall.
that they are not hugely tall. One major concern that Preservation Connecticut suggests we get some feedback on is whether the process is reversible. They have had experience with some solar panels, if they disintegrate or need to be replaced, and there's a great deal of difficulty removing and replacing. So to the extent when you come in, if you can provide us with some information about the expected lifespan,
Mhm.
and the
Could do
feasibility
some research on that.
of
Yeah.
changing if that should be necessary.
This particular system that we got quoted on was 25-year life for the panels, but I'm sure technology's gonna change before then, and that it'll probably, obsolescence will probably get us before, this stuff would.
Which side, which side of this?
Okay, so you see the barn?
Yes,
It's gonna be on the back side,
That slope roof.
right there, and that shed roof as well.
oh, so you mean not the freestanding one?
Facing east.
So if you look at what I have,
See it.
see these two
Right.
images here,
Yes, they're not gonna use.
Right here on
Okay.
this slope,
the shoulder on here.
and right here on this slope and this slope.
Yeah.
Way in the back.
Right.
We-
You'll never see it from the house.
Yeah.
You'll never see it from Lime.
And we don't, currently, we have no need to remove any trees, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, where's
There's
the-
one tree that probably at some point is going to die and need to be removed regardless of solar panels, and that's about it.
canopy?
There's another barn. It's not actually in the historic district. It's just around the bend on McCurdy Road. On the left,
Okay,
red barn setback. They've just put solar panels over the whole side of it. So if you want to see one
Okay.
installed, you can.
oh, we've seen, we just haven't seen them in the.
It wasn't in our jurisdiction, so we didn't have.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Okay, let me run through these other suggested pointers.
Okay.
And Russ, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I would just like to share some of my experience, and, with solar, which I fully support. A couple of things. One is, solar studies indicating the direction of the attitude towards the sun. Both having a south facing is highly beneficial, as well as the angle towards the sun. We found that in our case, and again, our barn is outside the district, as you noted, John, that we had a south facing facade that and a steep slope roof that had a nice attitude towards the sun and no tree obstruction. We also were inclined, even though it wasn't in the historic district, to provide a material and approach that was minimal, and that was a solar shingle versus a solar panel. And so what we actually ended up installing was the Tesla solar shingle. I think there are other solar shingles on the market now, and that's a nice low profile appearance. So I'm not aware of a freestanding solar system in the district, and I think that that's something that I think the commission would need to consider. So just a few thoughts. We also incorporated a battery such that the solar is connected to the grid, but also has battery support, which negated our need for a gas-powered generator. A few comments and thoughts.
Thank you.
Thanks, Russ.
Thanks,
Yeah, I
Russ.
think they have moved away in their thinking from the freestanding ground mount system. So they're talking about an installation on the barn and shed behind the house. So let me just highlight a few other points. And Martha, is there a way, do you think, to separate these pages and we could just send them the pages relating to the solar?
I have them printed out.
Or we
I can
could.
Is
have
that
them
in the
even-
manual or separate from the manual?
No, this one's
Okay.
information we got electronically.
Oh,
from
great.
the
Okay.
state.
Here, I can just give it to
But
you.
I have a
I have two
copy.
copies, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but just briefly, I mean, a concern in addition to the reversibility is that things look more or less the same across the entire roof. I mean, if you're doing shingles, that would accomplish that, but, and maybe it's not a concern given the limited visibility, but, sort of avoid a light gray shingle next to a dark panel.
Yeah.
So what we found out was as a residential generator of electricity, which we would be, We're not a farm. We're not commercial. We're not industrial. We are not, state of Connecticut is illegal to be an electricity producer at the residential level. So we could do the whole roof to make it uniform, but we would be overproducing, and the only thing that would do would build up a credit on our account and cost us, which I would never use. So,
This is, other states.
But we
differ.
have not looked into the shingles, and so that's something we could
we could
research.
look into the Tesla roof,
Yeah.
which we have not. But again, what we're here for, this is very
Oh,
preliminary.
yeah.
Very,
Before we spend a lot of time and invest a lot of time, is it even feasible?
I wonder what Russ paid for battery. You'd be interested in that at all?
I would possibly be interested in the battery wall. When Russ did it, they threw in the battery wall, I think, for free. With his roof. And is that true, Russ?
One thing people forget too, the color of your roof is the brown, is the, medium brown.
Look,
Or
yeah.
black, which is what we.
There's some photographs of the roof color.
it'd be black on brown-ish.
So that's a factor.
But again, it's a view that is not
a
seen
color
anywhere in the historic
Currently,
district.
okay.
And
Yeah, I've got.
Like one person
Yeah,
might
that's-
see it
no.
in the winter.
you can have it, we can get one. I didn't print the whole set. This also is the canopy. On the property, the tree canopy, and it doesn't look like we're gonna have to do any pruning or there's definitely no tree removal. And the photograph was satellite and was taken during the fall, but they colored in the canopy.
So let me just highlight these couple other features. You'll need to provide detailed specs on whatever system you want, and photographs of the shingles.
Mhm.
Some cases they run across the product, the solar panel product is so highly reflective that it just kind of, this would be again, like the front facing ones, but really just be a glare that would detract from the character of the district. It doesn't look like the existing shingles have any particular historic significance.
The shingles on the barn
Not
roof?
yet.
No, they're, what are they, architectural,
But,
lifetime roof shingle that was put on 2 years ago.
right, so that's fairly straightforward. In this handout, one useful thing is page 35, which gives you some resources for further
Mhm.
research from the State Historic Preservation Office, National Park Service, and those two sources of the
Great.
information. So
That's
you
helpful.
might find
Thanks.
some details there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in general.
We're on board with you guys. We
In
don't like to
general,
like be.
the
Look good.
state and its perspective towards solar panels is accepting, as I indicated at the outset, but a number of factors to consider.
Yes,
Right.
and we live in 2 historic districts, and
I know.
we're not able to do this in Mistake.
Because of my
And
roof.
we're hoping that, yes, we cannot be an electrical generator, but some states, if you own 2 properties, you can take the excess and apply it to the other property. And we're hoping that the state of Connecticut might
Maybe
allow
they'll
us at this point. But we can't. We have 14 planes on the roof.
And it's a
of Mystic.
technical reason we can't do it on my home in Mystic. It's the roof doesn't accommodate it.
14
But this
planes.
It's like.
And it's minimal impact. I don't think you'd be able to see this from your house, Julie. You'd have to go stand at your bridge, I think.
Maybe if you stood on your roof. Well, thank you for your feedback.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for
I'm
coming
gonna, I'm gonna pick your brain, because this is on the back burner, but something we've thought of.
Okay.
As.
Yeah, maybe we'll all learn
the
together.
Price of electricity tends to keep going up, so.
It's not gonna get any better. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great day.
Thanks very much.
Would you
Thanks for
trust
this.
me?
We appreciate you coming in.
You want to keep that?
Yeah, early.
You should have one.
You should have one.
I can send it electronically too. Do you want me to send it?
Yeah, that would be.
Take care. It's a PDF, so it's not huge.
And this is for us to have?
Yeah, yeah, thank you for the copy.
Okay.
Thanks again. We'll probably do another
See you
preliminary
again.
when we're
That's.
out of the woods,
That's fine.
if we go further.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks. So that was another good reason, Martha, that we attended this meeting, because I would have, I mean, I knew a lot of this, but to have it right here and to be able to provide folks who are interested with web links on,
Great.
here's
It's a
what,
great
here's what
reference.
the SHPO says are good guidelines is
Very
helpful. Next item is oh, Deanie, the Luddington sign relocation.
So we had agreed last year that we were going to just leave the sign where it was until a better location was decided, and we're just revisiting that again. So whether or not we can, excuse me, push it, move it, and just put it back a little bit so that it's not exactly on the same sort of plane with the Lafayette sign, and it's just a little less intrusive on the town green. So,
Are you suggesting it's less important than the Lafayette sign?
no, just that, no. No,
Okay.
no, not at all. Just that, not at all. Just that there's two right there right now. And
I think I'm just gonna abstain because is there may be a hint of a conflict.
A hint of what, David?
Conflict.
What would the conflict?
oh, with
The
you.
last name is Luddington.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just trying to
Okay.
not follow Alito and Thomas.
The appearance of,
How far back would you move it?
Well, what
Where
happened?
would you
I
look?
mean, just so to remind everybody what happened, the original location was set further back. But then when the town groundskeepers came to talk about it, they were very worried about destroying the roots. And because it was the rain was pouring and everybody was standing there, we just put the sign just right, actually where they suggested to put it. So it was never really our intention, the HDC's intention, to have it right where it is. There was, the original piece was a little bit set back so that it had more clear reference to the house. Because right now, you don't really, it's not really clear that there's a connection between Catherine Luddington and the house, the Luddington house. So we would just like to go back and consider that once again, if we could place it in a way that it was very clear to passersby that there was a connection between the house and the person, the historic person, Catherine Luddington.
Is there still concern that the owners of the house would want to wait until they sold it? Or
Well, there was that. It's not their property. It's the town property. So there was there were myriad reasons why we just left it where it was, but we don't want it to sort of slip off of our radar. We still feel that it would be
Who's we?
better, this historic
this
district
is
commission.
based on our before you joined the board, what our discussions were about the
Right.
placement of the sign.
The HDC had hoped that it would have a connection with the house and have it placed a little bit facing the house.
And would the town still participate in relocating it?
It would have to.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
So
So what would the procedure be, Jeannie? What would need to happen aside from notifying the town gang to come move it? But what else would have to happen to choose a new location, a slightly different location?
I think we go back to what we did before. you and me
Check
and
out the
Martha, we had a variety of different members of the HDC go
Right.
and stand at the location and sort of select a nice place for it.
Right.
So I think we could go back and do that again
Right.
and then talk to Katie in the selectman's office and see if that
Good.
move could be arranged.
As I remember, there was a concern initially about proximity to the tree. But I believe that the recommendation of some tree people, experts, was that the tree is dying anyway. And so the proximity to the tree is no longer a concern.
That's what the person on the tree commission said, that it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be.
I
a
mean,
large
for
concern.
installation purposes, I don't know whether be concerned would necessitate any special equipment to install it. It's not like shoveling dirt out of the hole.
Right.
Oh, you'd be running into the roots.
Right.
And
That was their concern.
That was their
They're
concern.
like, we can't cut through all these roots and it won't be good for the tree. But it was mainly digging because they didn't have, they would have needed whatever you could need to cut through roots. I don't think you can use a chainsaw on the ground.
here's an auger.
Richard Chainsaw.
And then sharpen it afterwards.
Take the dirt out.
Down. Using.
It was, and we remember that day. It was raining and there were all sorts of people there.
Yeah.
And it just put it here and that's where it went. And so the reason that it's on this agenda right now is that we just would like to remember that we
Try to
had
get it
voted,
right.
had voted to have it in the right place. So maybe the procedure will be for whoever on this commission would like to come and stand there and look at it again and revisit.
Well, that seemed the plan. Before the next meeting, Martha, maybe you could check back to see what we actually approved, the phrasing of what we actually approved about the location. And so who wants to scout this out? If it's more than two of us, it needs to be a special meeting.
Well, I'm happy to go and maybe a special meeting is important if this is going to, I mean, is it going to generate controversy in the town?
Well, my sense, and Dee, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we got flack when the sign was first installed from both sides, if you will. Some
Yeah.
people said, no, we hate the sign, it's too prominent.
Don't put it there.
Don't
Yeah.
put it there. And other people who said it needs to be front and center. Why are you delaying putting it up? So I'm not sure that there is a happy,
But we could construct a
Solution.
rationale.
but
I mean, we could just present in our minutes a
yeah,
narrative
I
for,
mean, that's exactly
Yeah.
what it's our decision.
Yes.
Not everything we do is popular, to say the least, but I think there would be people who would be happier to have it moved, both because it's not quite so stark in its presentation, and also because it's near the house that
Right.
Catherine Ludington lived in, and then there would probably be some people who,
but we can't know. Yeah.
But our principal interest was connecting it to the property.
Yes.
That was the reason it was placed there in the first place, was because of the house. So it should make that. That's what our interest.
So I volunteer to join whatever, if it's a special meeting or not.
You can join also, but only if you have a special meeting, so. if you
Right.
want to do that.
That'd be great if you, yeah.
Wants to, but you don't want a special meeting, then I don't need it. You know, I don't want to confuse it.
I'll come too.
okay, let's have a
I'll
special
be
meeting.
there.
okay.
Meeting is very easy to set up.
Yeah.
Right, well, why don't, Deanie or I can circulate some possible days and times and
That would be perfect.
deal with it that way. Good. So,
You can.
wow, we're actually on time. Agenda item 1025 is 1024. How often has that happened? Carol and I think a couple meetings ago made what I thought was a good comment that with regard to these sign guideline revisions, we should perhaps take a step back and really reflect on the vehicle in which we want to present them. And we did talk about that last meeting. I've kind of updated the background step back questions that I think we ought to consider with regard to the type of document. David, by email, had forwarded a couple of very helpful textual clarifications that I inserted in the document itself. But and David, correct me if I'm wrong, I think also was of the view that it might be easier to have one document, just take this document and replace what's currently in the handbook. As our discussion progressed last meeting, it seemed to me that the consensus among those people who were here was that they like the idea of a separate document. Keep the handbook more general with a few key points and just refer people, if they are considering a sign, for example, to material that would be posted on the website. So the step back questions are listed on this sheet. Here are copies that Martha, I guess, or Deanie printed out. But I'd also like to consider this in light of the project list that was circulated that comes under new and ongoing business. Do we have copies of that? Any copies of that?
I mean, I have a copy that I printed, but I don't know.
The new project list?
I don't have multiple
Yeah.
copies. I don't know. Yeah. That's the one I handed you, is that the updated?
I printed it.
Need it?
Yeah, updated.
Anyone need a paper copy?
I read it this morning, but
I have.
Excuse me. As we're looking at possible things to do, it strikes me that Historic District Commission work could be a good part-time job for all of us. I mean, there's a lot to do and we're not going to get it all done, is my guess. I mean, certainly not right away. So part of the step back is, what do we want to focus on? What's most important? I would like this, but this is purely my personal view, to finish the sign guidelines. We've been talking about them for the better part of a year. We've talked about it being useful for people to have some guidance and perhaps send the guidelines to folks in the historic district who have signs. I mean, the Old Lyme Inn comes to mind. They're always adding banners and signs. They've never come before us. It would be useful for them perhaps to have some guidance as to what sorts of signs are desirable. So that's my personal view, but there are other things that maybe you all think are more pressing. We don't need, nobody's demanding, oh, by such and such a deadline, you have to have these revised guidelines. Upcoming, for example, are the zoning commission provisions of its regulations. And again, personal view, that strikes me as something that's really important to track. So I'll sort of open the floor to discussion of either the particular questions on this cover page or your thoughts about what's most important to spend our time and energy.
I agree with you that we have put a lot of time into this, and it would be very helpful to complete this. And I think that as time goes on, there are more and more signage in the district that we question, and so the sooner we can make our the sooner we can approve our guidelines, the less opportunity there'll be infractions.
Yes, I agree.
And I mean, the guidelines are not set in stone. We've amended the certificate of appropriateness form to clarify it. We can add to, subtract from, but to get something out there might be.
John, I both of you, I think we should finish them up.
I'm having trouble hearing. Just a minute.
Looks like he's flushing the toilet.
Is that you, Russ?
Yeah, John, I need to sign off, but I wanted to say that I think there's been a lot of work put into the sign guidelines, so I would be fully supportive of trying to get that finalized. I think there's been enough effort put on it, and while it's all fresh on everybody's mind, to wrap it up. So I support that. Unfortunately, I have to sign off at this point, but there you go.
Okay.
Thanks, Russ.
Russ, thank you, and thanks for your comments earlier about solar especially.
Sure. Thank you. Sorry I couldn't be there today. Opening a hall over here in the Hamptons, so have to do the work. All right. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Well, then let's perhaps talk about some of these background questions and see if we can either clarify them or decide to set aside particularly troublesome questions for now. What the document itself needs is probably a very close read and editing. Carolyn, just because you're an expert editor, would you be willing to?
Sure.
mark
And I'll
me
also
through it?
volunteer for the layout overview of the handbook. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but whatever.
When we
whatever
come
we
to
have
it.
Well,
I'd be happy to share in that.
I guess all I had in mind was
Fantastic.
the non-specific general presentation about both thinking about images, but also thinking about how we introduce the historic district, how we introduce the commission. There's been some helpful work done in the past in letters or memos submitted to zoning, for example. We probably could draw on. But thank you.
And the other thing I wanted to suggest is one of the reasons, and there are a couple of reasons why my own preference is to not include the full document in the printed handbook, but rather to have it as an online supplement, is that it allows us to change it. So we could state in the printed handbook for details and updates, and then see the website. And that allows us, as you said, to make modifications as we've done with the COFA form to change these things online. So I think that flexibility would be very useful for us.
Yeah, I support the supplement as well.
Todd, we're on to something else, but you're welcome to sit and listen. I guess if you have another issue.
Yeah, but I did some housekeeping and I have to bring it up. But this has to do with the garden shed that we have a COA on at the final drawings, and there's a change. But I just want to run by you and see if you think it's how significant it is.
Well, technically, it is, as the C of A application form says, if you want to change a C of A, you have to have a new C of A. So,
We gotta put it on the agenda too. I think.
right, no, I mean, that's just.
Can we do like a preliminary and determine whether or not I need to do that? So I can get on the July agenda.
Sure.
And just, we have a lot to accomplish in the next half an hour, so just show us as
Yeah.
briefly as you possibly can.
Building is exactly the same. But what's happened is the architect, after we got the approval, the architect got a hold of it and drew it up. Okay. So this is the shed and it's 8 feet and then the shed roof out the front. And from the front view, front elevation, it looks like this, the same windows, the same door, same everything. The only difference is he thought it looked too long and slender at 8 by 16. We approved it at 8 by 16. He's cut it down to 8 foot by 12 foot. Teresa and I both think it looks better. It seems to fit better. But again, it's a change from 16 feet long to 12 feet long.
Mhm.
So
I mean,
I consider it to be a fairly minor change, but I don't know how I'm about to order material.
well, again, I mean, my personal reaction based on that 5 seconds is that I don't see anything that would affect our approval, but we do have to give we do have to give approval. So we need a new C of A, and if you could attach, maybe reduce these and attach them or just.
Sure. So we didn't have these at the first meeting because we didn't have approval. So then we engaged the architect and he said, it kind of looks funny. He didn't like it.
Okay,
Okay,
All right, can you put me on the agenda for next July something, right? July 1st. Let's do that.
okay.
Thank you, Mark.
So. Lost my train of thought.
So that would be
Supplemental, we were talking
Should we-
about,
Do you want to vote, John, or, I mean, if there's a wide difference of opinion, we should probably hammer that out. now. Your first question, should it be a supplementary document?
How about I move that the guidelines be included in a supplementary document that can be located online, which will be noted in our hard copy.
I get, that's fine, or we could just save that for next month, and we can do that in conjunction with approval of the.
In other words, I'm in agreement with you.
right, with the idea of the supplement,
Okay, great.
rather than printing it all out in the hand.
Thank you, David. That's great.
Okay. Well, let's touch base with these other questions. Some of them relate to temporary signs, a subset of that are political signs. I made a list of my thoughts about why we care about temporary signs, because not every town pays attention to them. Some just say, we don't deal with this. So one problem is the way my brain works. When I see in the statute a statement that says, no structure shall be erected in the historic district without a C of A. And structure is defined as something that's affixed to the ground. My mind says, why do we even have discretion to offer a blanket exemption for temporary signs? Okay, that's this hyper technical one. Why might it make sense to exercise jurisdiction over temporary signs? And I can think of 4 reasons. One is we've had an experience in the past, I believe, of a temporary sign that periodically gets replaced by another temporary sign that really is the same with a different message. And so you have a whole series of temporary signs, but it's effectively a the second is, and I think LAFA's recent lawn sign installation is an example of big, in-your-face, lighted, temporary signs or installations. And I'm not sure we want to say, oh, we'll never deal with a temporary sign.
Which,
Sorry.
Just-
Oh, this is.
have we jumped down?
Well, I'm just sort of looking at these two. Do we want to, I'm looking at question 2 in
Yep.
particular.
But John, is there any disagreement among us that we should indeed regulate temporary signs?
Well,
I'm not
that's,
sure any of us disagrees with that. Should we start there?
My thought on 2 was that, yes, maybe we would offer multi-year unless there was a substantial change to the type of sign.
Yes.
I mean, in other words, if Musical Masterworks, they put their sign out there, the library puts their sign out for the bookseller, the Wee Ferry Village does their sign. But if they, so we could give them multi-year approval for that. But if they decided at some point they wanted to do a much larger sign or a different type of sign, then they'd have to come in for a COFA.
and I just throw it out.
I agree.
The other reason is to be concerned is we just have a huge proliferation of signs than used to.
No, but those are being approved. They,
No, I mean, we have a proliferation of temporary signs,
right.
like at Old Time Inn, for example.
Right, but isn't this question about the signs that where someone has come in and asked for the for recurring? So but let's, I mean,
Okay,
let's just say
I just want to make sure we can cut it short. I don't have to go through the full explanation. I just want to make sure that we're on board with saying we have jurisdiction over temporary signs.
I agree.
Either,
I think wire signs.
agree we
I think, yeah, a literal
We have.
Yeah.
reading of the statute says we do.
we do.
I mean, there's a technical, this would be a question for lawyer, if we ever seek legal advice again. You can have signs that are not structures, that over which we have jurisdiction, because they're quote unquote advertising signs, with advertising being defined.
Whether or not we do, we're taking jurisdiction. How about that?
Well, it says we can control them,
Yeah,
but
okay.
control, to my mind, is potentially less mandatory than saying no structure shall be installed.
The bottom line is we do want to have the control, so let's do it.
Over temporary signs,
Yeah.
right,
So let's check that off as something that we want to consider offering.
right.
Okay, and I think there's reference to that in the draft,
Good.
Carolyn.
And Deanie, I agree with you on number 2, provided a lot, as long as there are provisions.
Right.
So Wee Ferry can't 1 year have a sign this big and the next year, there have to be, as long as it's close to a like for like,
Right,
if that's the principle, the concept, so the sandwich board in front of the library or whatever. And even for Wee Ferry, if the concept is that it's a like for like, I think it's absolutely fine to have multi-year provision, but there have to be a few, it has to be described.
Yeah.
because our
I think it's
It
great.
wouldn't have to be
Easy
exactly the
things for
same.
everyone.
right.
It wouldn't have to be exactly the same size,
You
but
agree, Debbie? Yeah.
I mean, it's less onerous for the people,
Yes.
the nonprofits and so on within the district that are really trying to
I think it's
follow
great.
the guidelines.
I am puzzled still by our response to, do we have to apply for a CMA for political signs?
Right. So
Um,
You know what, John, I suggest we jump over 3, just for now,
Always
and
jumping.
see if we can't take care of the rest, because that's really a problem. I mean, 3 is problematic. There's no easy
I
answer.
mean, my guess is people will put up political signs. Some people, my guess is that most of them will be non-obtrusive, except for, being signs present, but non-obtrusive in the sense that they're not big
Yes.
in ways that would violate the zoning regs. I just think we, at some point, need to be prepared to
We do.
answer that question.
Yeah.
Says you, the commission, say you have jurisdiction over temporary signs. Do I have to come in and get a C of A for my political sign? I can see that our answer to that question being fraud. I mean, it's a fraud issue. It's like, if we say yes, they say, how outrageous, and free speech, and, and if we say no, they say, well, isn't it a temporary sign? So one possibility is to say, pending advice from council, we're just keeping, technically, yes, in general, we have jurisdiction, but we're keeping hands off for now.
We'll get funding after the election.
What did you say?
We'll only have funding for legal counsel's advice after the election, so the answer is no.
That's for this.
We don't have to decide the answer to that question today.
No.
But we have to be prepared to answer that
Absolutely.
question. That's all.
Right, because there is no difference in a wire stake sign that has a political message and a wire stake sign that has a paint contractor or a, power washing guy.
Okay. Next question. What is our position regarding wire stake signs?
Very hard
Very hard.
to exclude them completely because of the painter and the electrician and the kindness high school signs and all of those things. It's very hard to say no wire stake signs in the historic district.
But we had thought about imposing some time limits,
Mhm.
and very specific.
Right.
Within a week after you get the final or it's out of there, or.
Yeah, I mean, does it make legal sense to impose time?
We can do, I think we can do anything we want. Right now in the draft, bottom of page 6, wire stake signs are listed as amongst signs that the HDC has not approved. We can take that out and put it in under duration and removal of signs. Just put in a line saying wire stake signs are discouraged, but if approved are.
Well, in there, 5 days, somewhere it says 35 days. And that would take care of, that would allow people working within the district to display their business, but it would prevent those signs just staying up for months on end.
I mean, we can say, or under,
Yeah.
To have guidelines.
Right,
under prohibited signs, say wire stakes signs that are installed for longer than 35 days. See provisions about duration. We could
Yeah.
mention them in a couple of places.
but some of these building projects go on, I mean, number 38 Lime Street, it's been going, it's been years and years. So that, not that they have a sign, but if they did, that's the kind of sign that could stay there. So,
Who's gonna monitor it? Who's gonna?
That's the problem.
I have you in mind.
Well, that's one of the,
Who's gonna remove
that's one of the things on our project. List. Monitor enforcement.
I put Ed's name by that.
remove them besides Eric Knapp, who would go around and pick them up because he considered them trash.
Right.
He would just remove them, but we can't. I mean, I can't just go and remove somebody's wire sign. I wouldn't.
Well, he has said we should do that, but no one wants to do that because we just obviously don't want to.
Would he be willing, whoever CEO is, be willing to do that?
So far, he really wasn't because his time did not allow him to do that. So, I mean, these are all the complications that come along with this, but we can at least make an effort.
Did we refer to zoning regs in this document? Question 5.
I think yes.
Those two.
Well, at least make reference that we are not the bottom line or the final authority. They have to go.
Well, we are the final authority. I think it's more political to say, you also,
See
another reason you can't do
Yeah.
this is because they're.
Yes.
prohibited.
Right. I support mentioning the zoning
I
reg.
mean, we just have to, again, we probably, and then a year from now, we'll change it when they adopt new zoning regs, or change at least some.
Somehow, just that we are in addition to the zoning regs.
Right. Okay, I think that's spelled out, but
Yeah, I think it was.
keep it.
It was spelled out in that,
Okay, 6, we can skip over. Russ's input. The issue about what constitutes like for like is something we should revisit both in the context of the form and in the context of this document. What do we mean by saying that a like for like, it's a like for like replacement if the lettering is the same, if a new sign is identical in all respects, including lettering? Do we need to review a sign if somebody changes the wording but keeps the same font? I mean, that seems kind of excessive
yeah,
to me.
when it does to me too.
I get it. We informally said, yeah, we need C of As for Children's Learning Center and the Griswold Museum for changing logos. That's just an issue to think about.
I think it has to be clear, has to be simple and clear. And so maybe the best way to achieve that is to ask people to come in with the C of A for any changes to signs.
But see, we don't regulate content. So
No.
if they want to replace the wording and they're using the same font,
In
right,
the same design.
and the same design,
I
Why
think
do we
the design is
care?
a crucial thing. So when Floodbridge changes the design, they need to come in, and the Learning Center, they're changing the design. But if they were just changing the wording, but keeping the font and the design, then I think it could be like for like.
well, as you go through that, maybe,
So it would
just think
Think
about
about that.
clarifications for font and design.
same font, different message, different wording.
Yeah.
You could say anything but a duplicate of what you have requires a CO.
But then it would be monitoring content.
Well-
You'd probably find a way to frame that.
Might not necessarily be the content. Could be something else. The size of the.
This is font.
Right.
So I would say again, you're concerned about extreme cases, but if somebody has, font with letters this high and all of a sudden they want to have letters this high, that's something we might want to take a look at and say, is this really necessary? If it
I think we
bothers
should
us?
word it to do it that way, John.
Okay. And then next steps on this, we can discuss next meeting,
Great.
but
Well, you're gonna do the editing between now and next meeting?
and circulate it so we all get a chance to
Yeah. When are we gonna finalize?
hopefully.
Potentially next
meeting.
week. Okay, good.
Next July,
That-
in July.
I mean, otherwise we're waiting till September.
Exactly,
But
yeah,
we're
that's
setting
right.
another special meeting. Before you joined, David, I mean, we had several special meetings. I don't know, we've just,
I was there for one.
yeah,
But we made a lot of progress too, and you've done so much work.
I know.
I just hope it's not this much work for
I think we're very
sculptures.
close.
Oh, I do too.
Others.
So on the wires, on the wire and the wire stake and the sandwich boards, which have been our biggest, kind of one of our biggest stumbling blocks. with the wire signs, we're going to say something about 30 days or 35 days. Is that what we're agreeing?
Right. I mean, and technically they need approval, but goodness sakes, I mean, as Eric Knapp said when we were discussing this, for multi-year reiterations of the same things, he said, at least some people you'll get clearance on, and others we can decide if it's important enough to.
Right. There have been wire stake signs up here for, at this point, maybe 3 or 4 years that are still around.
Yeah.
You know, so,
We're in a busy construction or work period, and I don't see a lot of new signs.
no, I know. There haven't been so many. There's one across from me, and then they're the ones that have been here for years. Okay,
Okay.
and the sandwich boards,
Yeah, well, right now sandwich boards are completely prohibited under the zoning regs, so I think we can say they're prohibited.
Well,
the,
the Nightingale has a sandwich board out in front advertising ice cream.
Right? The fire department has a sandwich board,
Homeward has a sandwich board.
has a sandwich board, and ice cream and chocolate shell buildings have had a sandwich board, and the churches had sandwich boards.
What about if they're taken in at the end of the workday?
Well, I have problems saying we'll permit something that the zoning regulations prohibit.
We can't, right?
I mean,
Or.
we could, but I mean, in the following sense, LACFA having to move their sign because it overhangs the sidewalk.
What if we just don't mention sandwich boards? And if zoning wants to enforce that law.
Except it doesn't happen because,
They don't.
I mean,
Who are we to enforce it?
well, because we have jurisdiction over temporary signs.
I mean, he has enforced.
He has enforced them, but his policy, Eric's next policy has been to proceed on a complaint basis. So if somebody complains, he'll go out and say, hey, you have a sandwich board, you can't have a zoning regs say you can't. Please take it down.
What if we just included, and this may have already been covered, if we just state in our document that zoning regulations, this zoning prohibit sandwich boards.
Well, that's how, if you look,
That's how you state it.
yeah,
Yeah.
in other words, prohibited signs, portable signs, including sandwich board, A-frame signs. See following sections of the zoning regs.
Yeah. That's good
I
enough.
mean, I'm not sure we want to prohibit all portable signs. For example, last musical masterworks, they advertised with a sign that was not a sandwich board, but it was portable.
That's the sign they always use. It's a metal, that's the sign they bring out every
But
time.
it's a big, heavier.
It's a heavier metal sign that sits on a kind of a bracket type
Yeah.
of thing.
I mean, to my mind, it's around the sandwich board prohibition. But we might want to rethink our language because it is a portable sign.
I think with these sandwich boards, one problem that we have to be aware of is that the fire station is not going to want to remove its, I mean, that sandwich board has been there forever and nobody wants to touch the fire department. They have that, they just keep it there.
It's also a governmental entity.
No, but the
Right.
only governmental entities that are exempt are state government.
Okay.
That's why they,
But it
I mean,
would
the
be
town
hard
hall
to,
came in.
you know, they would not be happy, right? So,
I don't think they're governmental.
you think what did?
I don't think the fire department's governmental.
No, it's local.
If it's a volunteer fire department, then
Yeah.
it's not.
Okay. Well, no one's going to tell the fire department that they can't advertise their steak dinner or, I mean,
But anyway, with that, you know, given that, we can still do what we can.
But
we could do it.
my point is we can. Yeah, it's hypothetical. Suppose somebody comes in and says, I'm a responsible citizen. I want to get proper approval. I've always had sandwich boards. Now I can't. What do you recommend? Is a wire sign better? I mean, something like the church has, to my mind, is better, but it's sort of a bigger, more stable.
Do we want to give guidance for sandwich board signs? I mean, I know that gives tacit approval, which we don't want to do, but it's better to give guidance. They have to be removed at the end of the workday. We used to say that. Or whatever it might be. I'm just raising it.
Or in the days before the event. Didn't we have
That's
something about?
worse. Maybe it's better to guide them than to try to outlaw them when we're not going to enforce it.
Well, we could put that in under temporary signs.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Related to events. That doesn't help with realtor wire signs, temporary signs, but.
I'm not sure. I don't have an answer.
Well, as you go through
I
it,
just think we do what we can. It's never going to be absolutely precise and exact. We're never going to rule out every possible person that might come with an extreme big font or, we just can't, we can't look for that because it's not going to happen. We just want to take what is the most likely occurrence and we want to deal with those likely occurrences as best we can.
look, I mean, at some point it just gets ridiculous. We provide historic plaques. Those are signs. Some have to get a historic plaque from us and then get a C of A. That's ridiculous. So,
Yeah, I think we have to be practical and realistic.
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah,
Well, do
agreeable.
you have, and I'm happy to talk with you or.
Yeah,
get drafts.
Let's meet and I don't have a lot of changes to make, but I also would like to talk with you about formatting and layout. How do you want this to appear on the website? We might as well do it all at once, then bring it in to the July meeting and people can take a look, see what they think, and it can be changed again, and then maybe by September, we'd be ready to go.
I mean, ideally,
That
I
would be
think,
my suggested time.
ideally, it'd be great to circulate it at least a week ahead and
Sure.
let people weigh in with ideas and.
So I'm gonna be
Hopefully
here,
can it
so
happen.
John, up to, your time, and you'll have thoughts too.
Okay,
About, just for example, John, let me just tell you one thing that I was thinking when I read it this morning. When I read through again, I came down after I'd read for a while, I got to principles. What were the principles of the signs and historic district? My suggestion would be to put that first.
okay.
I mean, I'd just like you to take a look at it that way. So in other words, something positive first. This is what we think about signs and historic. It's those kinds of changes that I would recommend. I don't care if you accept them or not. I just give you my best, my best judgment, my best thought, and everybody can do what they want. But that's what I would.
One of the points that came out it always comes out in HIPPO discussions about HGCs is to be cautious about meetings that are technically FOI
Yeah, sure, I
meetings.
understand.
So
I
as
can
you're
do it one-on-one.
as you're soliciting feedback, let's not start a general discussion.
Sure, it should
So
be
Carolyn
one-on-one.
can be the point person and send it, and if David has comments, send
Great,
them to
that would be
Carolyn, and if I have comments, et cetera. Just,
Okay.
Perfect.
because otherwise a group discussion turns official, even if it's online, turns into a meeting.
Good.
Well,
Ranger?
for these, yeah, let me just highlight the one thing I added on this list of needed initiatives, which I found intriguing if somebody's interested. One of the things on that SHPO PowerPoint, this is what I added under number 7, is to investigate grants from federal and state sources. They're minor grants. I think, Martha, we've used them in the past to help publish new handbooks. But you can use these for all sorts of things. We could get little brochures about the historic district that profiled properties. and
That's
get
a great
grant-
idea.
Well,
Get a grant for them. We could
they have,
get a grant to hire somebody to give talks throughout the historic district. I mean, again, if we could be more creative than we have been in thinking about possible uses of money, but of course it takes somebody to write up the proposal and
Mhm.
all of that. So,
One of your ideas was, I thought was sort of interesting, was doing a walking tour, even if you did it 3 times a year, 4 times a year.
Sure.
You know, I think it might really engage the town and people young people who are interested.
We have to first, do a comparison with the
Historic
historic
system.
districts. Walking tour, some of which is great and some of which is not accurate, so, we might want.
I think it would be a
we
good
could
PR.
conceivably partner with.
Sure,
with them.
that'd be great.
Um,
Okay, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but is there a motion to adjourn? This is astounding. We're within 10 minutes of announced closing.
Great.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Deanie moves, Carolyn seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4 ayes and adjourned. Thank you.